The miracle of the sun was an event which occurred on the 13th of October 1917, reportedly attended by 30,000 to 100,000 people gathered near Fátima, Portugal. Several newspaper reporters were in attendance and they took testimony from many people who claimed to have witnessed extraordinary solar activity. According to these reports, the event lasted approximately 10 minutes. The three children who originally claimed to have seen Our Lady of Fátima also reported seeing a panorama of visions, including those of Jesus, Our Lady of Sorrows, Our Lady of Mount Carmel, and of St. Joseph blessing the people. The event was officially accepted as a miracle by the Catholic Church on the 13th of October 1930. On the 13th of October 1951, the papal legate Cardinal Tedeschi told the million people gathered at Fátima that on the 30th of October, 31 October, the 1st of November, and the 8th of November 1950, Pope Pius XII himself witnessed the miracle of the sun from the Vatican gardens. The event, in the fourth edition of her memoirs, written in 1941, Lucia said that on the occasion of the third visit to the Cova d'Ia on July 13, 1917, she asked the lady to tell them who she was, and to perform a miracle so that everyone would believe. The lady told her that they should continue to come to the Cova each month until October, when the requested miracle would occur. Estimates of number present range from 30,000 and 40,000 by Avelino de Almeida, writing for the Portuguese newspaper O Século, to 100,000. Estimated by Dr. Joseph Garrett, professor of natural sciences at the University of Coimbra, both of whom were present that day. The people had gathered because three young shepherd children had predicted that at high noon the lady who had appeared to them several times would perform a great miracle. According to many witnesses, after a period of rain, the dark clouds broke and the sun appeared as an opaque, spinning disk in the sky. It was said to be significantly duller than normal, and to cast multicolored lights across the landscape, the people, and the surrounding clouds. The sun was then reported to have careened towards the earth before zigzagging back to its normal position. Witnesses reported that the previously wet clothes became suddenly and completely dry, as well as the wet and muddy ground that had been previously soaked because of the rain that had been falling. The event was attributed by believers to Our Lady of Fátima, a reported apparition of the Blessed Virgin Mary to the children who had made predictions of the event on the 13th of July 1917, the 19th of August, and the 13th of September. The children stated that the lady had promised them that she would on the 13th of October reveal her identity to them and provide a miracle so that all may believe. De Marchi accounts. The most widely cited descriptions of the events reported at Fátima are taken from the writings of John de Marchi, an Italian Catholic priest and researcher. De Marchi spent 7 years in Fátima, from 1943 to 1950, conducting research in interviewing the principals at length. In The Immaculate Heart, published in 1952, de Marchi reports that their ranks included believers and non-believers, pious old ladies and scoffing young men. Hundreds, for these mixed categories, have given formal testimony. Reports do vary. Impressions are in minor details confused, but none to our knowledge has directly denied the visible prodigy of the sun. Some of the witness statements follow below. They are taken from John de Marchi's several books on the matter. The sun, at one moment surrounded with scarlet flame, at another aureoled in yellow and deep purple, seemed to be in an exceedingly swift and whirling movement, at times appearing to be loosened from the sky and to be approaching the earth, strongly radiating heat. Drive. Domingos Pinto Coelho, writing for the Catholic newspaper Ordem, quote, The silver sun, enveloped in the same gauzy grey light, was seen to whirl and turn in the circle of broken clouds. The light turned a beautiful blue, as if it had come through the stained glass windows of a cathedral, and spread itself over the people who knelt with outstretched hands. People wept and prayed with uncovered heads, in the presence of a miracle they had awaited. The seconds seemed like hours, so vivid were they. Reporter for the Lisbon newspaper O Dia. The sun's disk did not remain immobile. This was not the sparkling of a heavenly body, for it spun round on itself in a mad whirl, when suddenly a clamor was heard from all the people. The sun, whirling, seemed to loosen itself from the firmament and advance threateningly upon the earth, as if to crush us with its huge fiery weight. The sensation during those moments was terrible. Dr. Almeida Garrett, professor of natural sciences at Coimbra University, as if like a bolt from the blue, the clouds were wrenched apart, and the sun at its zenith appeared in all its splendor. It began to revolve vertiginously on its axis, like the most magnificent firewheel that could be imagined, taking on all the colors of the rainbow and sending forth multicolored flashes of light, producing the most astounding effect. This sublime and incomparable spectacle, which was repeated 3 distinct times, lasted for about 10 minutes. The immense multitude, overcome by the evidence of such a tremendous prodigy, threw themselves on their knees. Manuel Formagao, a professor at the seminary at Santarém, and a priest. I feel incapable of describing what I saw. I looked fixedly at the sun, which seemed pale and did not hurt in my eyes. Looking like a ball of snow, revolving on itself, it suddenly seemed to come down in a zigzag, menacing the earth. Terrified, I ran and hid myself among the people, who were weeping and expecting the end of the world at any moment. Rev. Joaquim Lourenço, describing his boyhood experience in Alburitel, 18 kilometers from Fatima, on the day of October 13, 1917, without remembering the predictions of the children. I was enchanted by a remarkable spectacle in the sky of a kind I had never seen before. I saw it from this veranda. Portuguese poet Afonso Lopes Vieira de Marchi also drew on the newspaper account written by Avelino de Almeida, a journalist sent by the newspaper O Século, who described in detail the reactions of the crowd. According to De Marchi, engineers that have studied the case reckoned that an incredible amount of energy would have been necessary to dry up those pools of water that had formed on the field in a few minutes, as it was reported by witnesses. Critical evaluation of the event. Auguste Meeson, following the work done before him by the Belgian skeptic Mark Hallett, has stated sun miracles cannot be taken at face value and that the reported observations were optical effects caused by prolonged staring at the sun. Meeson contends that retinal after images produced after brief periods of sun gazing are a likely cause of the observed dancing effects. Similarly, Meeson states that the color changes witnessed were most likely caused by the bleaching of photosensitive retinal cells. Meeson observes that sun miracles have been witnessed in many places where religiously charged pilgrims have been encouraged to stare at the sun. He cites the apparitions at Haraldsbach, Germany as an example, where many people within a crowd of over 10,000 testified to witnessing similar observations as at Fatima. Meeson also cites a British Journal of Ophthalmology article that discusses some modern examples of sun miracles. While Meeson suggests possible psychological and neurological explanations for the apparitions, he notes, it is impossible to provide any direct evidence for or against the supernatural origin of apparitions. He also notes that here may be some exceptions, but in general, the seers are honestly experiencing what they report. Marchi states that the prediction of an unspecified miracle, the abrupt beginning and end of the alleged miracle of the sun, the varied religious backgrounds of the observers, the sheer numbers of people present, and the lack of any known scientific causative factor make mass hallucination unlikely, that the activity of the sun was reported as visible by those up to 18 kilometers away, also precludes the theory of a collective hallucination or mass hysteria. Marchi cites P.O.Scatesi, who identified two possible alternatives. The solar phenomena were not observed in any observatory. Impossible that they should escape notice of so many astronomers and indeed the other inhabitants of the hemisphere. There is no question of an astronomical or meteorological event phenomenon. Either all the observers in Fatima were collectively deceived and erred in the testimony, or we must suppose an extra-natural intervention. There are two other possible alternatives that P.O.Scatesi fails to recognize, and these would be that those taking part in the event were either deceived by the senses, or that they were experiencing a local natural phenomenon. Stuart Campbell, writing for the edition of Journal of Meteorology in 1989, postulated that a cloud of stratospheric dust changed the appearance of the sun on the 13th of October, making it easy to look at, and causing it to appear to be yellow, blue, and violet, and to spin. In support of his hypothesis, Mr. Campbell reported that a blue and reddened sun was reported in China as documented in 1983. Joe Nickel notes, not surprisingly, perhaps sun miracles have been reported at other Marian sites. At Lubbock, Texas, in 1989, Mother Cabrini Shrine near Denver, Colorado, in 1992, Carnews, Georgia, in the early to mid-1990s. Nickel also suggests that the dancing effects witnessed at Fatima may have been due to optical effects resulting from temporary retinal distortion, caused by staring at such an intense light. Nickel also suggested the cause may have been a sundog, sometimes referred to as a parhelion or mock sun. A sundog is a relatively common atmospheric optical phenomenon associated with the reflection and refraction of sunlight by the numerous small ice crystals that make up cirrus clouds or cirrostratus clouds. Paul Simons, in an article entitled Where the Secrets of Miracle at Fatima, stated that he believes that it is possible that some of the optical effects at Fatima may have been caused by a cloud of dust from the Sahara. Kevin McClure claims that the crowd at Cova da Iria may have been expecting to see signs in the sun, since similar phenomena had been reported in the weeks leading up to the miracle. On this basis, he believes that the crowd saw what it wanted to see. However, none of the previous phenomena had to do with the sun. The focus, for the most part, was on the little tree where the lady was said to appear. Kevin McClure stated that he had never seen such a collection of contradictory accounts of a case in any of the research that he had done in the previous 10 years, although he has not explicitly stated what these contradictions were. Leo Madigan, a former psychiatric nurse and local journalist at Fatima in the late 20th century, believes that the various witness reports of a miracle were accurate. However, he alleges inconsistency in the accounts of witnesses, and he suggests that astonishment, fear, exaltation, and imagination must have played roles in both the observing and the retelling. Madigan likens the experiences to prayer, and considers that the spiritual nature of the phenomenon explains what he describes as the inconsistency of the witnesses. Stanley L. Jackie, a professor of physics at Seton Hall University in New Jersey, a Benedictine priest, and the author of a number of books dealing with the intersection of science and faith, proposed that the event was natural and meteorological in nature, but that the fact the event occurred at the exact time predicted was a miracle. Media. In 1996, John Haford spoke about Fatima and his book, Meet the Witnesses, in which he personally interviewed nearly 200 witnesses to the Fatima miracle, describing the detailed witness accounts. The 2009 movie The 13th Day is a dramatization of the Fatima visions based on the writings of Sister Lucia dos Santos. Bibliography. De Marchi, John. The True Story of Fatima, St. Paul, Minnesota, Catechetical Guild Educational Society. OCLC 40,630,767. De Marchi, John. The Immaculate Heart, The True Story of Our Lady of Fatima. New York, Farrar, Straus and Young. OCLC 2,947,238.